Good evening. Hello from Texas. Welcome from Salinas, California. Good evening, all. Hey, Becky. Georgia. Just right before I came on, it took a little bit because I was listening to an update about that shooting at the private school in the Christian school in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. And they released the info that the shooter was a 15-year-old girl and that she took her own life. Like, man, it's like, poor kid. What could have been happening to her for her to break out and do that? That's horrible. I mean, it's horrible whether it's a boy or a man or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I don't know, something that because it was a girl, just because it's not common. Almost every single time, except for the one at that library. What was it? It was. I know they called it a trans person, but it was a girl. I forget where that was. This was today. This was a school shooting happened today. Besides herself, there were one student and a teacher that were killed. So yeah, definitely tragic. And I guess we'll find out more and more what those details are as as the days go by. Touchy thing today to try and dig deep to find out what happened. Um, so I doubt we'll hear anything about why, unless some kind of note was left or something. And yes, okay. Before you start, yeah, I got the piano music going, some soft classical in the tradition of you know who, but different purpose. All right, different purpose. So hey, Chrissy. Hey, Charlene. Me vale madre. Welcome. Yeah, it's horrible. It's I can't even imagine to be the parent. I mean, to be the parent and this happening. Oh my goodness. Hey, Sheree. So this Gypsy Rose has come out with a book. And I don't know if you saw it or noticed it. I did go live on Friday. There was a book signing. And I say that because, as it turns out, it seems like that book signing wasn't really a true book signing, but it was more a staged event for her Lifetime reality show. That's they're following her around everywhere, and the reports are coming in that the store is not even selling her book. It's not on the shelves. There's no advertisements for it in the store. It seemed like it was all just a production for Lifetime, which makes perfect sense when you think about her. However you feel about her, and I certainly don't think it's fair that she is out and her ex partner in crime is still in prison and most likely will remain there. And yet she's out, like they say, like she has said, living her best life. And he's still sitting in prison, and he's gonna be. Doesn't seem like he's gonna be getting out anytime soon. Yeah, Kathy. Hey, Mighty Lou. Yeah, sad, bad situation today. Right before Christmas. Not that only this week would be bad, but anytime you have a young person that feels that they need to do something like this is pretty horrible. So, as they say, and don't mean to trivialize it, but please have your thoughts and prayers with those families in Madison, Wisconsin. There was another threat earlier in Green Bay, but I believe that was just a threat, not a actual incident. So it's like, geez, what the heck is happening? So, okay, so Gypsy Rose had this book signing, and then there was going to be a protest. There's a guy by the name of a podcaster by the name of Sir Morbid X. Have you seen this? I streamed that. That's what I was streaming on Friday. And, hey, Mike. And there's some people saying that they were going to go and kind of protest the book signing, and maybe do more of a Dee Dee Blanchard, justice for Dee Dee Blanchard. And only a couple of people turned out, but it was okay. It was still They were out there, and security was very tight. They didn't. If you had no business in there, they didn't want you in there. You had to put away your phones. Or reports are that they were telling people to put their phones down or in storage or something. I don't know. Hey, Oriana, Stacy, hi there. And so the whole thing was kind of weird. And then more videos coming out, and there was a woman. I'm not going to say these names because honestly, I'm confused. There's so many that people that follow the story, and but there was a woman having coffee there. There's a coffee shop right outside the window, and the Lifetime producers started giving her a hard time, and then they eventually security came and told her to move, saying that she was a threat. So they really had the area cleared out and didn't want any kind of anything in there. Just the Lifetime production. Everybody that was in line, lining up for the book, was just a production. I remember when we first tuned in, we were about halfway through that broadcast, and the line seemed to be out the door and down the street, but shortly thereafter, the crowd kind of disappeared. Hey, Tori. The crowd disappeared, and doors were closed, and like nobody was really coming out. That was like the weird thing. You think, people buy the book, they get their signature, boom, and they get out. And then you hear that she didn't even have a pen or a marker, and then you hear that the books were already signed. They were pre-signed. So that's why they were not really concerned with her not having something to write with or to sign. And that's all. The more you think about it, the more of it's disappointing that it was a production instead of. Well, we'll get to that too. Instead of a real book signing. My beverage of choice tonight is Diet Coke with fresh squeezed lemon inside. So good. Yeah, you can see the story on my page. There was a school shooter in Madison, Wisconsin, at a Christian school. And they just released information this evening, some point, that it was a 15-year-old girl who did the shooting, who then took her own life. So we will hear more about what that's all about. And also, before I get started, I just posted a story about Hana Kobayashi. That's a woman who went missing. She was from Hawaii, flew into California. She went missing, and it turns out she wasn't missing. You remember this story? Hey, Heather. And that was a weird situation. She was reported missing, and then her father was so distraught, it seems, that he couldn't take it, that his daughter was missing or something happened to her, and he unalived himself. I think he jumped off some kind of hotel parking lot or something. And then recently, it was last week, might have been almost 2 weeks ago, that there was a sighting of her crossing into Mexico. And then through someone, there was a statement that she was okay. I think law enforcement said she's okay. And then today or yesterday, she put out a statement, and I posted that on my page. She has no intention of going back to her family. And she's whatever. I don't know. It's a weird situation. She just wants to be left to herself and her privacy. It's like, yeah, okay, but my thing again. Hey, you put your shit out there in public, people are going to be interested. Don't get upset when people want to know stuff. And she could have. My thing is, she could have left a note. She could have made a call. Mom, I'm okay. I'm not missing. Don't go crazy. I need to go be alone somewhere for a while. I'll be gone for a month or two or whatever. I don't know how long. That's it. Goodbye. No search party. No whatever. So yeah. So I got my thoughts on that too. Anyway, I wish I had wine because tonight is definitely the time for wine. But right now, Diet Coke with ice and the fresh squeezed lemon is good. I've been drinking so much water, lime water. It's not even funny. Okay, so the reason for tonight is and we got into the Gypsy Rose thing a little bit, and we want to talk about that a little bit. We can. Gypsy Rose was a girl that was seemingly victimized by her mother's Munchausen by proxy. And many people are debating whether that was even true. And of course, that's not something that you can do a blood test for or anything like that. So she went through years of abuse. And by abuse, we mean her mother seemingly told her, I'm not sure how it worked. Did her mother tell her to pretend to be sick, or her mother did all the speaking to doctors and you've got this and you've got that? And they went as far as, remember, they shaved her head and did the whole cancer thing or cancer treatment thing. And she was bedridden or confined to a wheelchair. But then there was that weird, remember that situation where, it's snowing outside and she's sitting at the edge of a porch rail. And then she just fell into the snow and she starts, screaming, oh, wow. No, that was weird. It was really weird. Very weird. And anyway, there was a lot of that. And finally, one day she decided she was done with it. And she came up with this thing to, instead of run away or seek help, she decided the thought came across her mind to unalive her mother. And then she had made friends with this kid, Nicholas Godejan, who has got some mental issues himself, and she seduced him. And he was head over heels, not a popular guy. Her baby's due pretty soon, I think in the next month. I think it's January sometime. And her and Nicholas schemed, and they ended up unaliving Dee Dee Blanchard violently. I've seen the crime scene photos, and it's bad. So they both got sent to prison. Nick Odejan, I believe, got life without parole. Hey, Juju Bean. And for some reason, Gypsy Rose only got, 10, 12 years, something like that. And then she was eligible for parole, and then she was let out recently. By recently, I mean, I believe it was January, wasn't it? This past January. And then, since then, she's been, she probably could have, in a better way, capitalized financially from all this, especially with the, with social media being so popular right now. handled right, she might have been seen in a different light. However, the way she went about things made a lot of people turn on her like, were you the victim, really? And then, of course, the whole crowd, the whole thought process of, well, she unalived somebody. Why is she even out? And why is Nick still in prison? You know, if she got out, he should get out, or he should get something. And then her behavior, and then she gets married to this guy Ryan, and then they get out, and then a few months later, then just recently they're divorced, and then she hooks up with the other guy, with the Ken, right? Ken Urker. And the whole thing is just friggin' bizarre. It's weird. If I didn't know better, I would think this is all a setup. Everything is all a setup. Ryan, Ken, the pregnancy, people people doubt that she's pregnant, but she's got a little bit of a baby bump, and then people are afraid for the baby. It's like, well, what if she don't like the baby, or what if she does something to the baby, based on what she did to her mother? And all this is, I'm just overall covering this very generally without going into a lot of specifics. And so just like a lot of shady things happening around her, the way her social media has been handled, she wants to put her life out there publicly, and then all of a sudden she doesn't, and then she pulls a plug on putting a lot of information out there or talking about her life daily or whatever. The Lifetime show might have something to do with it. They might have held her back and said, hey, you're putting your life here for the TV show. This is what we're paying you for. Don't go out there every day and put it on TikTok or Facebook or whatever. I get it. I can see that. But people question her, why she did that. And it should have been something like, and the same thing with the Menendez brothers. Apparently they were victims of some abuse, and I guess you don't know until it happens to you. I'm gonna go with that. But why couldn't you just leave? Especially the Menendez brothers, the family was wealthy, and if they needed to get a hold of some money to, disappear for a few days and then go to authorities or something, I believe they could have done that. Why didn't they do that? Why resort to unaliving? Again, unless you've been through it, maybe that's why I don't understand in that way. Especially when you have the means. And apparently, Gypsy had the means to walk out of there. She was able to, there's that famous footage of her at the police station waiting to be interrogated, and she's walking around, and she walks into the courtroom, days later, and her family's like, you can walk? She can walk? So a lot of shady stuff. So fast forward, last week, her book gets released. Her book is called My Time to Stand. This thing. And it's available everywhere. I guess it's been available already. Ahead of time, limited release here and there. A lot of people got a hold of it. So, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to read some of this. Let me read some of this. I think she's becoming, a lot of people support her, right? Especially now that she's pregnant, they support her more. But at the same time, she's becoming one of those people that people love to hate. And they don't believe a word she says about anything. So I'm going to start off by reading the author's note, which I think is hilarious. I think that says a lot right there. So that'll be the first part of this. My Time to Stand, a memoir. And then also by Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Melissa Moore, and Michelle. I can't read see the name. Matroschiani. Conversations on the Eve of Freedom, also by Melissa Moore. Shattered Silence, the untold story of a serial killer's daughter. How I filled fragments of my life with forgiveness, hope, strength, and creativity. Also by Michelle Matroschiani. How I filled the fragments of my life with forgiveness, hope, strength, and creativity. Okay. My Time to Stand, a memoir by Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Melissa Moore, and Michelle Matroschiani. And this is available for purchase. If you might be able to find it for free. I think you can do the Audible, the free books, and all that stuff online. You guys know where to find all that. So let's start with the author's note. All right, the author's note. And I almost wish I had the book so I can do one of these numbers and read it like this, but that's okay. Okay, here we go. Author's note is the first part. It's just one paragraph. Everyone considers my story to be... Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. I had to get that out. I had to get that out. I had to. I'm not doing that. It was just... It's out of my system. It's out of my system now. Everyone considers my story to be true crime, which it is. But this book is a work of memory, my memory, and therefore is a memoir and not an outsider's investigation of my life or crime. The feelings and emotions evoked are accurate. While some of my childhood memories have faded, these particular events remain vivid. I sense a selective memory here, but that's just me. To fill in many gaps, I've relied on other people's answers to my questions. And here we go. The typical disclaimers apply. And this is where I have a problem with this. And turn on the music a little bit. There we go. There, that's better. Okay. Once again, the typical disclaimers apply. Some names and other details have been changed or omitted to protect the privacy of individuals. Any resemblance between a fictionalized name and a real person is strictly coincidental. Where there are passages containing dialogue, question marks are used when I'm reasonably sure that the speaker's words are close to verbatim, or that the speaker's actual meaning is accurately reflected. The story I share here is true to my memory, and these memories have shaped my perceptions, many of which are also shared here. This is how it was for me. What I experienced or believe I experienced. See, and I'm not a fan of, and to a certain point, a disclaimer. But she's saying, "Oh, don't take this as true crime." She's saying, "Don't read this that way. Don't read into it this way. Don't read into it that way." So, chapter 1, and I guess she does the title, and I believe is Louisiana French, or was it? What is the actual language? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't mention it. And I'm assuming it's ça va, and then underneath in English. That's enough. Is that music still too loud? Should I lower it a little more? Somebody let me know here before I start reading this thing. It seems to... All right, lowered it just a little bit more. All right, chapter 1, that's enough. The words of Dee Dee Blanchard. And the words of, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. When Dee Dee Blanchard was 24 years old, she gave life to me. When I was nearly 24 years old, I took life from her. I firmly believed that by doing so, I was saving the life she had guarded with all of her might. Mine. Though she certainly saw my life as ours at best. We're two sides of the same penny. She liked to say, meaning, although two things may look very differently and be diametrically opposed, they're actually inseparable. Two parts of the same whole. After being incarcerated for 8.5 years, I've been learning how to navigate life on my own, separately. My time served includes my combined imprisonment in 3 facilities. First, Greene County Jail in Springfield, Missouri, where I spent a little over a year. Then, for a month, I was transferred to a prison for women in Vandalia until I was relocated to Chillicothe Correctional Center to serve the remainder of my sentence. Given all that time, and with the help of therapy, family, friends, books, and my own writing, I have examined my life, actions, and relationships in great breadth and depth. At least I've been given access to information, documents. At last I've been given access to information, documents, records, and therapy sessions. I'm like a detective noticing patterns, theorizing, having light bulb moments, and making new connections between things that used to make no sense to me. Still, while a year has passed since my release from prison, my scars, both emotional and physical, remain. Typical scars are like track marks that mock my progress. Alrighty. I'm not saying I can't heal. What I am saying is that the physical representation of my trauma just adds another dimension to the healing process. Like when I'm enjoying one of life's simplest joys, food, y'all. And I dive carefree into my first cut of steak or slurp of an oyster, but then have to pause and strategize to chew. Without salivary glands and teeth, thanks to unnecessary surgeries and medications, my past will always puncture my present. So apparently, and I believe Oriana said it up here, she ended up with a lot of issues because of medications that she was taking unnecessarily. And I'm sure that's what contributed to her situation with her teeth. The natural Louisiana sunlight that streams into my bedroom is far more forgiving than the harsh fluorescent lights at Chillicothe Correctional Center, where I was incarcerated for the 7 years after my sentencing. I have a full-length mirror now where I can see the whole of me. In prison, I could only see glimpses of my body in an 8-inch square mirror, never quite sure whether all my parts went together. In the warm light, my scars are less jarring than I found them to be in the past. Or maybe time is softening the marks on my body, but sometimes it's what's not visible that hurts us most. For me, that's true. For all the trauma inflicted on my body since childhood, it's the scar that isn't there that always travels with me. That scar otherwise would have been there if I hadn't asked Nick to kill my mother. People really want to know, what was the final straw? When was the moment that I decided it was her or me? Here you go, y'all. On page 3, 1 month before the murder, my mother tried to cut my throat. At least that's how I saw it. Anybody heard that? I hadn't heard that before. The cause of concern, suddenly, was my voice. It's so high-pitched, it's so squeaky. My mother complained to my ear, nose, and throat specialist. I thought my voice was distinct. You could say that. Like my uncommon name. Or maybe it was a family trait to be proud of. We both knew women on my mother's side of the family with similar high-pitched voices. Besides, Nick said my childlike chirp was sexy. So I didn't understand the issue, and I told my mother so. Yeah, that's creepy right there. I mean, you know, it's creepy. Never in front of the doctors, of course. I knew better than that. But on the way home, I went on and on like, well, a squeaky wheel. There's nothing wrong with my voice, I said with a whimper as she pushed me in my portable wheelchair to the parking lot where our car was parked, outside the hospital in downtown Kansas City. You heard the doctor. That voice of yours might mean there's a problem with your larynx, and that problem could be causing your sleep apnea, she said, her word final. No matter my sassing, we were going to go ahead and meet with the pulmonologist the ENT had just recommended, though we both knew very well I didn't have sleep apnea. In fact, by this point, the entire ruse had been up between us for a while. I was 23 and had tried to run away twice. I'd shot her with a BB gun. She chained me to the bed. I was getting older and much harder to control. The older I got, the more physical and harsher her punishments became. She stopped letting me use my custom-made Jazzy HD power wheelchair because she couldn't control it. I sensed she was becoming more erratic, more desperate. Only now do I see her back was against a wall. The lie of the life she had created could have gotten her thrown in jail on a list of felony charges as long as the bayou. Her watchful eye grew keener as the possibility of me standing up or speaking out became more plausible. We had achieved an unspoken standoff. I knew she was lying. Manipulative, criminal. She knew nobody would believe me. Her carting me off in search of a new surgery, I believed, was her attempt to secure control. When the pulmonologist spoke to my mother, it was as if I wasn't in the room. Quote, "Why don't we do an exploratory surgery on her larynx?" he suggested. "A simple operation of the voice box will get to the bottom of any respiratory or vocal abnormalities." End quote. What I heard was, "Let's cut Gypsy's throat for no reason at all." I had previous surgeries on my neck, and the scars brutalized me, but there was something about this particular surgery that felt more threatening than the others. Even more so than all the other body parts that had been constantly searched, explored against my will without my consent. I turned to my mother. "That sounds like it hurts. I don't want it. I don't want to do it." End quote. Tears didn't form, rage did. My mother put her arm around my shoulder and pressed me close, a signal to quiet down, and that had been programmed for so long. Her mom said, quote, "It's simple, baby. It's painless. It will help," she said, side-eyeing the doctor. What I heard was, "I don't care what you want." The doctor assured me there was little risk. He kneeled down to my eye level and spoke slowly to me, like English wasn't my native language. Who could blame him, he thought. I had the mind of a 7-year-old. Except my trapped adult brain suddenly felt the urgency to avoid doing the surgery at all costs. I thought a lot about my heightened reaction in this very moment. You know, the neck is considered the most vulnerable part of the human body. Of course, I didn't make this connection while sitting in the doctor's office. But I do think we are wired to defend our most vulnerable parts. The muscles and blood vessels and nerves in the neck are easily strained and damaged. The scars on my neck from previous surgeries, especially the one on my salivary glands, were so pronounced because the skin is on the neck. The skin on the neck is very thin. I hate to overdo the parallels, in parentheses, blame it on the therapy. But so many of the medical manipulations and interventions that I went through concern the part of me that allows for expression and truth. She muzzled my mouth shut at nighttime with a CPAP machine for my sake, for my fake sleep apnea. It was so unpleasant to sleep that way. It felt like someone was taking a bicycle tire pump and forcing a ceaseless stream of air up my nose. She numbed my mouth with Oragel, so I drool and slur. She was responsible for my teeth falling out due to side effects of superfluous medications. By speaking for me and scripting my every interaction, she deprived me of finding my own voice. Now, the way I saw it, my literal voice, squeaky as it might be, could be taken from me. Her final play. My mother and pulmonologist scheduled the operation with the same casual enthusiasm of planning a teeth cleaning. Despite my recent awakening to the reality of life, it was here where I truly feared the scope of her malice. This surgery was completely unnecessary, exploratory. The doctors called it. While all the other surgeries also had been unnecessary, this was the first occasion where I was privy to my mother's recklessness before the damage could be done. Was this the plan for the rest of my life? To cut me up and open piece by piece just because she could? She was making me play Russian roulette with scalpels instead of bullets. If it wasn't the voice box surgery, the odds seemed to be increasingly in favor of me dying on one of the operating tables. Quote, Mama, what if they cut me wrong and then I lose my voice and I can't talk? End quote. I don't think she would have minded that at all. I'm just gonna do a little more of this. We ignored one other. We ignored one another on the car ride home. I looked out the window, the world passing me by more quickly now, hazier. She steered the wheel, radar like, navigating us back to the darkness of our home. Darkness of our house, actually, it says. When we entered the door, she went one way, and I beeline to the blue medicine basin. Her pills weren't there. Waiting for her to cross the room, without words, I rolled into the bedroom, which was suffocated with stuff. I didn't have to rummage too far to find a pill bottle somewhere beneath a mess of clothes and kids' costumes, hand-me-downs from the well-meaning strangers. I shook 3 oxycodones into my mouth and swallowed them dry, drenched in disillusion. I was just another thing she hoarded. High and numb, I craved the fantasy world Nick and I lived in, so I messaged him. Nick and his kink world of ghastly rules was my haven, where I could let him act out anger on me that I did not myself know how to express. Do you remember when you told me you'd protect me from people who want to hurt me? She asked Nick. Yes, darling, he said. Will you protect me? She asked. Yes, Nick answered. Even from my mother? Nick answers, yes. And that's where chapter 1 ends. And I don't know, I'll probably do one chapter at a time. So the thing with her and Nick, and later we'll get into this. It'll come up. I believe it'll come up. If it doesn't, well, I just get into it. She had her and Nick had this. I don't want to call it a role play. But she took on this persona called Ruby. And I think they're going to get into this later. And I believe his was Victor. And that's where you saw, if you've seen that photo, you know, the one that's on my on the thumbnail for this video. This one. You see the photo to the far right? It's her licking a knife. Yeah, that's her. That's her alter ego, Ruby. And it's funny, for as much as I thought I knew about the situation, or maybe it was just as much as I wanted to know. And I had seen that before here and there, but I didn't think anything of it. I just didn't know that was her. I was like, that's her. And I was corrected. I was like, yeah, that's her. And that's how, I don't know, I guess she was able to survive or whatever, however you want to say it. But she says, okay, you know what? I'll save it for tomorrow. I don't want to give it all away right now. Hey, Christy. But tomorrow we'll get into, let's see, chapter 2. Yeah, it's a lot longer one. We'll do chapter 2 tomorrow. I haven't read that much of that line in a while, especially out loud. I haven't read out loud. Jeez, except for maybe a news article or something. So, still, Everybody's got their thoughts on Gypsy Rose. I think this will not change. She's a killer. I think instead of, I don't know, her sentence wasn't long enough. Even though he's the one who did the physical act, but she was right there, asking him to do it. And at least here in Texas, that's the same as you doing it yourself. If you're in the room while it's happening, if you're in the house while it's happening, if you're sitting in the car while it's happening in the house, you're considered part of that problem. But that's in Texas. And so yeah, it's just, to me, I don't know. And I'm not saying Nick go to John should be released. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't think she should have been released. And if you're going to cut her a break, and that's not even a break, because that's all she was scheduled for, right? That's all she was sentenced to. I think they got her all wrong. And, now you can't retry her. At least I don't think you can. We got double jeopardy rules all over the place. And I don't want to say poor dude is still in prison. But I mean, the only way I mean that is poor dude having to watch her enjoy her freedom. That's got to be difficult when knowing it's like WTF, and he's watching all that. And I think that's a definite added kick in the nuts to him. I wonder if she's doing anything for him. Is she putting money in his commissary or doing anything like that? Is she helping him out? Is she fixing him up with something for his family or something? Or, I wonder about all this stuff. In the meantime, her current BF, what's his name? Did we say it was Kurt? I forgot his first name already. I can't think of it. I'm drawing a blank right now. This dude that she was with just now that he walked out on her. What's the guy? Ken. Kurt. Ken. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, so all of a sudden she gets pregnant, and there was question whether whose baby is it? Is it Ryan's or is it Ken's? And with the timeline, it seems like it's Ken, not Ryan. And apparently they did a paternity test, and it is what it is. So apparently Ken has walked out on her, and so now she's gonna be a single mom. How is she gonna raise the kid as a single mom? How much money is she making from this? And that's probably why she's got to keep doing the lifetime thing and do what they say, because that's probably her only source of income, except for the book. From what I hear about the book sales aren't doing very well. Nicholas' mom OD'd a couple of years after the murder. She realized, oh yeah, I don't know anything about his family, but it sounds like they're having a rough time as well. She wants a free house. She was fooling around on Brian. Yeah, she was. Well, Originally, she was with Ken in prison before Ryan. But then that situation fizzed out, and then Ryan came into the picture, married him, and fast forward a few months. Now the thing with Ryan disappeared, and she got hooked up with Ken again. Not married though, just together, but not married. And then he split. I don't know, whatever it is, the situation, the story, the Gypsy Rose thing, her story, her history. We'll find out. There's some interviews there. I want to play some of that stuff later on. I got one of the interviews a short clip of an interview that I found with Nick Godejohn. And let's see if I can get this order. I'll play this little clip. It's not a long, it's very short. If I can find it real quick. Got a lot of crazy stuff going online. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, I'll just wait till I can put everything together. I thought it'd be easy to find here, but okay. Anyway, not now. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll locate the clips and get a little more organized. I wasn't planning on showing those videos anyway right now. But yeah, anyway, this is a video. He just states he wasn't happy about the whole thing. So Ken walks out. She's pregnant. People are doubting the pregnancy, but then she starts to show a little of a bump. And there was some picture floating around today with her and another pregnant woman, and that pregnant woman is huge. And then Gypsy's next to her, and you can barely see anything at all. So people start questioning, is she really pregnant? Maybe she's not. Maybe it's just a pillow, or just a fake baby bump. But I guess we'll see in a few months. And yeah, I'm afraid for that child. You wonder Gypsy's mental state. Plus, you throw in having a baby, and then now by herself, being a single parent, which is never easy. But we'll see. That story will continue, and as long as Lifetime is willing to keep paying her, then that will continue to run on Lifetime. Cynthia says she doesn't have any business having a child. I agree. But a lot of us, obviously our input doesn't count and doesn't matter. So we'll see where that goes. And a lot more of that story. A lot more of that story is going to be coming up. So anyway, that was chapter 1. If you're interested, I can continue tomorrow with chapter 2. I thought about doing a late night pillow talk session and do a little more of that, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. If I do, you'll be notified. Worst case, it'll be tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. If you don't want to hear anymore, that's cool too. Just give me your feedback. Do you want me to continue or skip it? Or because I heard, not that that's the only reason why I'm reading it, but somebody mentioned on TikTok that they're like, it's more like a soft porn novel. And I was like, what? I was like, all right, maybe I'll read a little bit more, see where that goes. But yes, if you are interested, thank you. Please just drop some comments. Let me know you're interested or not. If you can share the video as well. And I'll see if maybe tomorrow, if chapter 2 is not horrible, I can read a little bit beyond that. And then we'll just keep going with it. And then we can have this discussion like we're having right now. So that is going to be all for right now. It's 10 p.m. Central Time. I appreciate you so much. Hope everyone had a good Monday, and we'll check you out tomorrow. I'm not sure if I want to do a pillow. Somebody mentioned do a pillow talk, but if I do, that will be late. I don't know if you guys are up late or not. I don't know how many of you are night owls, but I used to do pillow talk like at 10:30, midnight, and might do that. Hey, Chris, just got here. Nah, that's cool. I just read the beginning of the Gypsy Rose book. And by beginning, I mean the author's note in chapter 1. And got some people talking and thinking and stuff. So I will let you guys know what happens. Pillow talk, pillow talk, pillow talk. I know. All right, a little bit later, though. It's too early. It's too early for pillow talk. Let's see if I can drag somebody over with me. Everyone, thank you for being here and listening and showing your support. Again, please share, like the video. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube yet, I would appreciate it if you did. Subscribe to my YouTube page and get notifications on when I'll be live there. I do go live on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you can spread the word, I would really appreciate it.